Hello, and welcome to Cindy's Corner. Today, boys and girls, sometimes we've lost loved ones, and our story today is about where is Grandpa? And perhaps you've lost a grandma or grandpa, or a great grandma or grandpa. And after it's over, you can tell me about it and tell me where are they now? So our story today, if you have this book, go get it so that you can read along. It's a very precious, I love this book, and it's beautiful. It's very well illustrated, and that's the person who drew the pictures. It's a great book. So let's, since we're talking about grandparents, let's say, where is Grandpa? And this author was T.A. Barron. And I got the privilege of seeing him. And he said, he wrote in my book, he said, for Cindy, who really understands. And I do. I knew where my grandpa was. And I know where my kid's grandpa is. Here's our title page. Where is Grandpa? By T.A. Barron. And he is our author. Good job. All right, and our illustrator is Chris K. Soenprit. I don't think I say this name right. Isn't that beautiful? Very colorful. Every bird needs a nest, and every kid needs a tree. That's what Grandpa said before he built my tree house in the old cottonwood. He knew how much I liked to climb trees, especially this tree. Whenever Grandpa joined me up there in the branches, he would say, let's see as far as we possibly can possibly see. And I would look beyond the horse pasture, beyond the hills, all the way to the never summer range of the Rockies, and wonder if somewhere up there a young eagle was staring back at me. Sometimes I climb up there just to chatter with the squirrels. Sometimes I climb up there just to be alone, to dream a little. But not this day. That day, I didn't feel like climbing or anything else. You see, that was the day Grandpa died. For a long time, I sat on the porch step and waited. When Dad came home, he got out of the car, moving slowly, like an old man, even older than Grandpa. Mom hugged him for a long time. They came over and sat beside me on the step. My sister and brother joined us. And for a while, nobody spoke. Then my sister started talking about the time Grandpa took her hiking in the hills above the ranch. When we rested by a creek, he showed me how to hear voices in the water. Low ones like drums pounding, high ones like picolas piping, singing choruses or singing solo. When we finally reached a waterfall, it was so loud that I heard it before I saw it. And it didn't look like water, more like rainbows pouring over the cliff. Grandpa said you could call it liquid light. Dad looked up, but said nothing. My brother told about the time Grandpa brought us a whole passel of pumpkins. The kitchen was full of them, all sizes and shapes. We cooked pumpkin pie and roasted pumpkin seeds, and then we started to carve wild faces, scary faces, wacky faces too. But best of all was the pumpkin Grandpa carved, with a hole in the bottom to fit over his head. When he put it on and met Mom at the door, she screamed so loud the cat lost 8 lives. Usually Dad laughed at that story, but not this time. Then Mom remembered the first time she met Grandpa. He took me outside under the stars and sat next to me on the swing seat, the one he called Creaky Bones. We sat out there for hours, the two of us, talking about our childhoods, his on a ranch by the Salmon River, mine in a city by the Connecticut River. She sighed. He made me feel so comfortable. At last, Dad spoke up. His voice sounded a long way off, like an echo across a canyon. Once when I was small, he threw me on his shoulders and took me up into the hills. Mist flowed everywhere, so thick that sometimes I couldn't see the red hair on his head. Suddenly, we stood face to face with a ponderosa pine, so enormous we could only reach a little way around the trunk. It had been dead for at least 50 years, so it had no bark and no leaves, but it still stood tall like the tower of a ruined castle. Did you climb it? I asked. He looked past the porch step, past Mom, past the wall of our house. I climbed it, all right, up to a deep hole in the trunk. That's where I found a whole family of baby raccoons, all jumbled together. I'll never forget their eyes, brighter than lanterns. Mom turned to me. What about you? Do you have a story about Grandpa? Even if I did, I didn't feel like telling it. Remember your camp out in the treehouse? I shook my head. Or the horseshoe contest that lasted for 3 days? I shook my head again. Or the scarecrow you two made out of snow? I shook my head again. Dad touched my arm. I miss him too. I drew a deep breath. There's something I'm wondering about. What is it? I'm not sure how to say it, he suggested. Just try. All right. Can anybody tell me, where is Grandpa now? Dad swallowed. He's, well, gone now. But where? He thought for a moment. I guess you should say he's in heaven. But where is that? Well, heaven means different things to different people, and it's hard to explain. I suggested you try. He glanced at Mom, then turned back to me. Maybe you could say that heaven is any place where people who love each other have shared some time together. I thought about that idea. You mean like up there at the waterfall? And by that old pine tree? And maybe even in my tree house? He said nothing. I leaned closer. Heaven is in all of those places? He nodded. So Grandpa is in all those places? A new look came over Dad's face, and he almost smiled. I thought about Grandpa in all those places, and I almost smiled too. I knew it might be all right now to climb the old cottonwood, to stretch my arms, to stretch my eyes all the way to the never summer range of the Rockies, to see as far as I possibly can see. And here was his grandpa. I hope you enjoyed Where is Grandpa? And maybe it gave you a little think about everything around you, that they're always with you when they're not with you. Tell me about something special that you've done with your grandparent, grandma, or grandpa. In the comments, share that with me. I like to see it and read it. If you liked our story, give it a thumbs up and tell your friends. And you don't want to miss our next story on Cindy's Corner. Have a great day.